Welcome back. All right, so it's been almost a week since we got back from Disneyland. I wanted to do a video on this, and the magnets I have on the board here are ones that I purchased while I was down there, or my wife purchased with me in mind while down there. And I wanted to talk about how Disneyland's got some upcoming changes. Of course, Tiana's Bayou is opening up soon. I think it's in November. That is the rethemed Splash Mountain, and it needed it. It needed some retheming. It needed to be changed. There's talks about retheming the Pinocchio ride, not retheming, but updating the Pinocchio ride. It's been updated in Disney World, and honestly, probably needs that as well. I always think it's interesting that Alice in Wonderland, that ride has this huge long wait, and the Snow White and Pinocchio ones don't, even though they're very, very similar rides. It's just Alice in Wonderland, it kind of goes up and then goes back down. Outside of that, they're almost exactly the same. So for people who go down there, if you're like, oh, Alice has got to be great, it's not a bad ride. Yvonne and I didn't go on it this time around because the wait time was always ridiculous. I don't think the wait time is justified at all. Little kids may really enjoy it, but otherwise, and again, I understand that in that area, you're in Fantasyland, a lot of it is rides designed for little kids. But if you've got a little kid there, take them to the Pinocchio ride, take them to the Snow White ride. You're going to have a much shorter wait time. So Critter Country's changing to Bayou Country. People have an opinion on this. I always find it interesting because any changes that Disney makes or Disneyland makes, there's a lot of criticism that comes out right away, even though we don't have a full visual of what this is going to look like. So changing it to Bayou Country makes sense. Critter Country is an area of the park that people really weren't going to very much. And I say that as somebody who was there in 2020, 2022, 2023. It's not a very beloved part of the park. You've got the Winnie the Pooh ride there. You've got a couple of stores, and that's about it. So they're changing it with the Tiana's Bayou going in there, that adventure, and I don't think they're doing anything with the Winnie the Pooh ride. I think it's going to be exactly the same, but the walkways are going to be different. The stores are going to look different, and it looks like they may add another walkway. I think they're putting in another walkway that'll make it so that Critter Country isn't quite as isolated, because it was very isolated, and they're changing the name of it to Bayou Country, which makes total sense to me. It was a little over 30 years it was Critter Country, and there's not a lot of critters in Critter Country, so yeah, the name change makes sense to me. They're going to bring in a Coco ride that's coming to DCA. From what I've heard, it's going to replace a restaurant that's there. And they're saying it'll be like Haunted Mansion and Pirates. Both the Haunted Mansion and Pirates of the Caribbean rides, they bring you through the storyline. They show you. Now, with Pirates of the Caribbean, they've tried to make it more of a storyline rather than just random pirate stuff. But it still, to me, feels like there's a lot of random pirate stuff in there, even though they've added Jack Sparrow and tried to make it more of a storyline. But Haunted Mansion's an interesting one because there is like some semblance of a storyline there, I guess. But if they're gonna do it like Coco and gonna lead through the movie, to me that sounds more like what we have with Monsters Inc. with some of the other rides. So we'll see how it turns out. They're planning to start construction in 2026. What I find interesting is all the D23 stuff. There's no dates on a lot of this stuff. So I feel like Disney announces this to get these big announcements, and we have no idea just how many of these ideas will come to fruition. They don't always all come to fruition. I want the Tron ride in Tomorrowland somehow in Disneyland, but they didn't do anything with Tomorrowland because why would they? Avatar Land is coming, and it looks like it's going to be, again, in DCA, because Disney California Adventure, for people who haven't been there, has a lot less to do. It has some really good rides there, sure, and some fun stuff, but it's not like Disneyland. Disneyland, there's a bunch of rides in small areas where you can just basically go run to the next, especially in Fantasyland. And Disney California Adventure, there's a lot of walking involved and a lot of concrete. So I'm hoping with Avatar Land, this means a lot of greenery. I don't care if it's real greenery or fake greenery. When you're walking on that pavement, it makes it so much hotter than it feels when you go in Disneyland. So if you're overheating at DCA, you have a park hopper, go over to Disney California, or to go over to Disneyland from Disney California Adventure. Now, there's going to be a new water ride apparently included with the Avatar theming of what is currently Hollywood Land, which is a large area of, not much to do. There really isn't that much to do, and so I completely agree with retheming and just kind of doing it over. I think there were some grand ideas when they started California Adventure, but I think tearing some of those down and rebuilding and thinking it through makes a lot more sense. The Avengers campus is supposed to double in size. There's supposed to be a new ride coming in there as well, which involves Thanos, and Robert Downey Jr. is going to come in and do some voice work for that as well. 2025 is when they're going to start the construction on that. And yeah, the Avengers campus is one of those areas too that it feels like it definitely needs a new ride. There needs to be something else there. You have the Guardians ride, which of course used to be Towers of Terror, and then Spider-Man, and then you got not a lot. So it looks like they're going to have brand new cars that they use for this, so like brand new vehicles. I don't know if it's going to be similar to the Spider-Man ride. Some of the way that it's been worded, it sounds similar, but again, they're remaining vague enough that they can make big changes if they need to. So we'll see when that goes up. They've been working on the Abraham Lincoln part of Disneyland, and there's been speculation, and they've confirmed that there's going to be like a Walt Disney show. So Walt Disney's own words, similar to, Abraham Lincoln. I don't really have an interest. I don't. It's interesting because I do like going to Disneyland. I do like going to Disney California Adventure as well. The Walt Disney stuff I'm not really interested in. I was never a big Walt Disney fan, even as a kid. When he would do the introductions for all the stuff we're going to watch, I'm like, yep, let's get him off. Let's get to the cartoons, get to the fun stuff. That's Mr. Toad. But if I sit through this, I get to the Ichabod Crane and the Headless Horseman. So the new Walt Disney show is fine. That was kind of rumored a long time ago. The new Smuggler's Run story with Mandalorian and Grogu is overdue. That is overdue. Smugglers should have multiple scenarios. So when you get set to go to the Millennium Falcon, you shouldn't know for sure exactly which adventure you're going to experience. For 4 years now, it's been the exact same adventure when you go on the Millennium Falcon, which is fine. It's a very kinetic ride. It's a fun little ride, but it's the same thing every single time. It would be like playing a video game, but you only play one level. So no matter how grand that game is, it's still only one level. So for me, when I look at Smuggler's Run and I see like a long wait time, I know that means that Rise of the Resistance is down. Rise is down, people go over to Smugglers, and as soon as Rise reopens, everybody leaves Smugglers to go over to Rise, because even though with Rise of the Resistance you only get one scenario, it's a fantastic ride, very immersive, and a lot of fun. But Smuggler's Run with a new story, that should be great. Star Tours has over 250 various options. So it's not 250 different planets, 250 different options when it comes to one scenario or another, but it's over 250 different combinations. And this is why I was ticked off when I went there this time. And it's just Ahsoka. It's like, okay, I understand, but apparently they've added Andor. I don't know, I never saw Andor. And I did see Mando and Grogu the one time. That was it. And yet the storyline before and after that was the same one we had been experiencing over and over and over again. So the fact that there's 250 different combinations, this is why I got upset. This is why the next time I go, I certainly hope that's not a problem anymore, because it is so much fun to sit down on a ride and not know what's going to happen. And it is something unique to Star Tours that when you get on the ride, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know where you're going to go. And so it's fun to see the various ways. I know the first time that I was on the ride with Yvonne and Yoda was the hologram. She was so excited. She was like, oh my gosh, it's Yoda. I'm like, yeah, that's great. Because I had already seen Yoda prior to that. I go on the ride a lot. This time, I went on it 3 times in the 5 days. That's it. I didn't go on it. I didn't go on it much after the first day. In fact, I think I went on it twice the first day, and I didn't go on it again until our last night in the park. No, the day before our last day in the park. The last day in the park, I had a lightning lane for it, and I just went, and I didn't go. So we were doing something else, and I was like, well, I'd rather not. That is unheard of for me with Star Tours. There's a third Galaxy's Edge ride that is coming. Now, one of the Disney YouTubers that I follow, Fresh Baked, did a video not too long ago pointing out where the entry and the exit are for that new ride. And the idea being that they had intended to have a third ride in Galaxy's Edge, but they wanted to get it open at a certain period of time. So they left that area there. So there's a queue that's already ready to go up. There's already an entrance and an exit for that ride. And so now they're going to bring in that third ride, which apparently is going to be Mandalorian themed. At least that's what I've heard. But it needs it. When you go up to Galaxy's Edge, you go to the Millennium Falcon, you go to Rise of Resistance, or you're in the shops, which is fine, but it's a long way to go for only two different rides. Both of them are prone to having long wait times. So I'd like to see the third ride kind of be something fun, something that hopefully we wouldn't see like ridiculous lines for, but it's Disneyland. You're probably going to see that, especially when it opens up. One thing to keep in mind is next year's the 70th anniversary of Disneyland. So we'll probably get more announcements over the next little while here when it comes to the 70th anniversary. The revenues for the parks have been down. The park prices are high. Not gonna lie, they are high. Prices have gone up everywhere, but there are definitely some families that have been priced out of Disneyland. So they're going to be making some changes to try to encourage more people to come. But I'm going to say this too. Having been there, they're not hurting for money. They might have less people coming in, but there's no way they're hurting for money. And if they are, that company's being run very, very poorly because there were a lot of people in that park, especially once the locals are allowed in at around 5 o'clock. So we'll see what they come up with, but I'm kind of anxious to see what they do. Because if they're going to encourage more people to come in, that means it's going to be more affordable, and I am perfectly fine with that. So yeah, I wanted to do this as sort of a look at what they've got coming up, and I understand there's a lot of negativity with, oh, you can't change this and you can't change this. There are certain parts of Disneyland that just feel very old, very run down, Tomorrowland's flat out neglected. Frontierland just feels, I don't know, kind of out of date. And it's a place you walk through more than interact with. And so I think there's a lot of opportunities there for them to make the park a little bit more of a draw for people. The problem is anytime you make changes to any area of the park, you're going to get a lot of backlash. And I think they need to just soldier through it. I really think that over the next decade, it's probably going to get a big facelift. And it's going to look quite different. Of course, Anaheim City Council allowed for a lot of extra space for them. And they have a lot of opportunity here to make the park better. I think it's going to take decades for them to be able to do all the upgrades they want to do to it. But I'm anxious to see what happens. I've not posted the pictures on here yet. At least I don't think my wife has. I'm just thinking about it. It's like, well, Yvonne might have, but I don't think she did. The pictures that we took in the park, and I'm thinking more along the lines of the Marvel characters that I got all my or the pictures with. There are some I didn't. I didn't get a picture with Iron Man. I didn't get one with Thor because he kept closing off his line before I got there, so I have it in for Thor. I didn't get a picture with Loki either, so it's not like I got a picture with one and the other's like, oh, you got a picture with him? I forget this. But all the rest of the Marvel characters that were there I got pictures with, and it was a very enjoyable time. So I do intend to do another wrestling video soon for people that are curious. I really enjoy this hat. This is one of my favorite hats. It's ridiculous, and I do appreciate ridiculous, as you can tell from my jersey collection back here. A lot of ridiculousness in the jerseys too. So anyways, and I also figured that at certain points in time during the hockey season, maybe this comes in handy. Especially if there's a night where there's a whole bunch of fights in one game, throw on the Darth Maul hat. Anyways, there you go. But I just wanted to do kind of a Disneyland discussion here. And I saw a lot of backlash too towards Haunted Mansion. So at the start of Haunted Mansion, you have the whole narration over the top by your host, and the room stretches, and then there's a flash and a crash, and you can see that the host is hanging from the ceiling. And as soon as it came out that Disney was doing away with that portion of the show and that he wouldn't be hanging up there, people were like, I can't believe they're going to do away with this. I was on the ride a bunch. Now, this is the Nightmare Before Christmas version, yeah, he's still there. He's still there. He's still hanging from the rope. I don't think that there was any reason for all the outrage. But as soon as it's out there, the outrage starts. So yeah, and I'll also talk about Disney Plus at some point too, and the ongoing Star Wars failure that we've seen, and I think there's a very simple way to fix it. But it's one that won't generate as much money right away, and I think with these IPs and with everything they have, I think there's this, okay, we've paid X amount of dollars for this IP, we got to generate some revenue on it, which I understand that thought process, but you want to make sure you're getting the right revenues, and rather than looking for that quick buck and that quick fix of, hey, here's new content, get it right. Just get it right. Star Wars fans will forgive a lot, but get it right is really, really important, and that's where I think they've fallen off a little bit. I never did get through the most recent season of Mandalorian. Just couldn't do it. Got 2 episodes in, and I was like, "This is a different show. This show doesn't interest me." So, and I only got, I think, 2 episodes into Obi-Wan too, and I just went, eh. I just didn't have an interest. So, I don't get mad about it, but I do see that there's an issue when it comes to Disney with Star Wars, and I'll do a video on that at some point soon as well. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit like and subscribe in the event you've not done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I also wanted to say we've been posting the various Disneyland videos, in part because we wanted to make sure people that might be going see what the rides look like and all that fun stuff. Generally, Disney copyright they don't strike it, but they immediately claim the copyright, and so I don't make any money on those videos. It's just strictly done so that people go, hey, that might be kind of fun. The tree house that Yvonne posted the video of, I wasn't even with her when she filmed that, and that's because that's one of the more recent changes that they've made is an upgrade and a change to that treehouse, which is kind of fun to do a walkthrough of. It's not something you're going to want to do a bunch of times, but it's fun to do a walkthrough of it. And yeah, so there you go. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.